Hello there, welcome to AMBR Builds, where assembly may be required. Join me as I document my journey back into LEGO collecting. Today, I want to look back at the years of my LEGO Dark Ages and see what sets I would have gotten had I stuck with the hobby. One thing that has never changed about me is that I am a huge Star Wars fan. I would say about 90% of my collection is Star Wars. It was the 501st Battle Pack that brought me back into collecting, and since coming back, I've gotten mostly Star Wars sets. I figured the majority of the time I was out of LEGO is from 2015 to most of 2020. And after browsing online, I wanted to make a list of the sets that could have been in my collection. That's why this list isn't necessarily a top 10, but rather a look at each year and looking at the set, or the sets, that I know a version of me in an alternate timeline would have picked up.
I bet you folks don't have one of these.
The first set I know I would have got for sure is from 2015. This is set 75087, Anakin's Custom Jedi Starfighter. And I really like this set because it is based on the Azure Angel, which was Anakin's starfighter in the Tartakovsky Clone Wars cartoon. Now that's the original Clone Wars cartoon where the animation was very flat, and it was made by the person who did Samurai Jack. I love that it's such an obscure set where it was only in one piece of Star Wars media that kind of got overwritten by the new Clone Wars when that came out. So it really is a good set for fan service when you look at it that way. Also, the build of it is just so unique, especially when you compare it to other starfighters. This almost looks like a mock set in and of itself, but this is exactly how it looked in the show, with the big engines on the front, and it even included the red astromech droid that Anakin takes with him, and I believe gets obliterated by Asajj. And that's why out of every set from 2015, this would have been my must-have. Now in 2016, I know there are at least 3 sets that me in an alternate timeline would have picked up, and 2 of them kind of go hand in hand. They are 75133 and 75134, the Rebel Alliance Battle Pack and the Galactic Empire Battle Pack. Now what I really like about both of these is very similar to what I liked about Anakin's Custom Starfighter, and that this isn't specifically from one of the movies or the Clone Wars cartoon. This is supposed to be a direct reference to the Battlefront games that EA made, and looking at it, it's a great Rebel troop builder. Not to mention that with the jetpacks that they wear, and also that style of uniform, they look right like the troopers in the game. I feel like in actual episode 4 through 6, Rebels kind of have one of 3 looks. They're wearing that navy jacket with the white popcorn bowl helmet, or they're on Hoth and they're dressed for a snow day, or they're on Endor and they're dressed in camo. But Rebel troopers on a desert planet, like we see throughout Tatooine in the game, were never really shown in those movies. So I like that we get that here, because that also goes hand in hand if you want to add them to, say, a Jabba's Palace mock, or if you have the Mos Eisley Cantina and you want to make them roam around that, or maybe put them in a little skirmish using that as the backdrop, you can do that with these figures. Now the speeder build itself is not anything really to write home about. In my opinion, it looks a little bulky, and I feel like LEGO's made much better speeders. It's just one of those things that LEGO's made so many speeders over the years, especially in battle packs. If I had to rate this one against other ones, it definitely wouldn't be in my top 3. Now as for the Galactic Empire Battle Pack, I really like this set mainly because it goes right along with the Rebel Battle Pack. I think I would have preferred if they were regular Stormtroopers, but still getting 2 Stormtroopers and the first ever and only Imperial Shock Trooper, along with an Imperial officer figure. This is a good troop builder for sure. The back half of it, where that Shock Trooper is sitting, almost reminds me of like a command post from the original Battlefront games, but I think the pieces you get with that, say you even have a couple of these, you could easily take that build and kind of make a fully round little turret instead of doing the actual build. But with that aside, I'm really digging the minifigures here, and that's why this and the Rebel Alliance Battle Pack both would have been ones I know I would have got for sure. The third set I know I would have got from 2016 is 75155, the Rebel U-Wing Fighter. Now, I was a big fan of Rogue One, and I always liked the shape of the U-Wing ship, I always kind of saw it as the Rebels version of the gunship, because at least on Scarif it acted like a dropship for the Rebels, which is something I hadn't seen before. And I'll be honest, I never really got into Rebels, but I don't think this ship appeared in there before it appeared in Rogue One, if at all. Anyways, so 2016 would have been a good year. That would have been a great trip to the store to come home with both those battle packs and the U-Wing. I know I would have been pretty ecstatic. Now in 2017, the one set I would have picked up for sure is 75171, the Battle on Scarif. Now this kind of keeps in theme with the 3 sets I would have gotten from the last year. Heck, maybe if I was feeling lucky or I was in a really good mood to build, maybe I would have got all 4 in one go. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to think I could find all 4 of these on shelves at the exact same time. But nonetheless, this would have been a good diorama from a movie I really liked. I like the fact that it doesn't try to be too much. Most of it is that landing pad, but I do like the explosion effects. It gives a nice little playability aspect to it, and I feel like it makes it very posable, whereas you can have Jyn Erso up against the doorway trying to break in, and maybe Cassian guarding her behind that crate, and then you could pose the Scarif troopers on the other side shooting back at them. I'd imagine this is another good set where it's really BYOMF, bring your own minifigures. It gives you lots of space. It starts you off with a few figures, but then you really make it your own by bringing more into it, and that's what really makes it more of a diorama or a display piece. I would really like to see them revisit this idea and do another set of the bunker, but maybe do it on one of those black framed builds, sort of like with the 18 plus collection that they're doing with the trench run and the Dagobah training. They could even do that for the Endor bunker as well, which I would also like to see, but that sounds like a topic for another video. Now in 2018, I know 2 sets I definitely would have gotten. Coincidentally, both are celebrating episode 5. The first one is 75203, the Hoth Medical Chamber, and this would have been a really easy set to pick up, especially considering I have a large collection of Hoth sets already. I have the first Battle on Hoth Echo Base from 2007. I have a bunch of snow speeders, a bunch of the sets that include the trenches and the turrets, and also the Wampa Cave. Odd enough, one set I don't have is an AT-AT, which that definitely would have had to find its way to my collection. But this would have been a great set to display behind the Echo Base set, or maybe even build a covering to put it all in. What I really like about this set is this would have been my first medical droid piece with 2-1B, and the Luke minifigure is pretty unique, and the back-to-tank is such a simple build, but the translucent blue container pieces really do a good job of selling that scene. That in conjunction with Luke's face and the mouth-breathing piece covering it. Also, the other medical droid looks like a fun little build. Overall, this looks like it's a great little set that you can kind of display on its own, or it really enhances an already existing Hoth collection. Now, when I was making this list, I was thinking I don't want to just choose the biggest set that came out that year and make that the set I would have gotten. That's kind of why I didn't limit this to one set a year, because I felt like it's too easy to say, well, of course I would have wanted to have the crown jewel set that came out that year. That's why, especially for a year like this one, where 75222 Betrayal in Cloud City came out, I wanted to include another set that I realistically know I would have gotten. This would have been a really nice set to have, especially considering I have the original Playscale Death Star, and I think this set tried to replicate both the Death Star in terms of how it captures the scenes from the movie, but also be a more modern version of that original Cloud City playset. Looking at it, I'm not the biggest fan of how it's not the exact same shape going all the way around, how it's 1/4 of it kind of makes a quarter of a circle, and then you have the landing pad, which kind of is disconnected and sticks off the end. I think I would have liked it a lot more if it kept the same shape for the base and worked with that to include the rooms, but that's just me being a little nitpicky. This is a very nice display piece. The carbon freeze chamber feature is really, really cool, and I think it's very well built, especially for the small amount of space that it's contained in. Same thing with the balcony where Luke fights Vader. I love how they captured that scene in such a skinny form. And overall, this set has such an impressive roster of minifigures. I really think for the minifigs alone, this would have been a must-have. Now moving on to 2019, I have 3 sets that I would have really wanted to get. And this first one here, I almost was gonna call an honorable mention, only because it's so small and it wouldn't really fit in with any of the other sets I have. But the more I thought about it, the more I really wished that it was something I picked up. And that is 75236, the Duel on Starkiller base. This set kind of spawned the $20 Duel series of sets that have since continued and gotten a lot more expensive than $20. I'm looking at you, Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. What I really like about this set is how it used its price point to have a constraint on its piece count, and with that, it kind of forced the LEGO designers to be really creative with how they can capture this in $20 worth of plastic, and I think they did a really good job. They have the trees and the snow and the rock piece to really sell the terrain of Starkiller base, and then the fact that it splits down the middle and you can see the lava, I thought that was a really nice touch, and especially as a little display piece, this is something easy to put on a shelf or on your desk in your office. It's a great set for those that aren't that into LEGO as well, because if you're really into Star Wars or you like that scene in particular, then this is something very easy to build and have as just like your one LEGO display. The rotating platforms for Rey and Kylo Ren and also the falling trees are just nice touches that add a little bit of playability and can kind of mix up how you display it as well. The second 2019 set that I really would have liked, and saying the name, I'm going to clear up some confusion for anyone else that never really knew exactly how to pronounce it. This is 75244, the Tantive 4. Or if you want to just call it the Rebel Blockade Runner, that's perfectly fine as well. But this set is such an iconic ship, and I think they did a really good job of capturing the detail on the outside. I really like the engine details and how they used the big tire pieces on the end there. Not to mention, I thought it was neat that they included both minifigure legs and a dress piece for Leia, so that you can have more flexibility in how you use that figure. I really wish I had more reasons why this is such a good set and why I would have wanted it, but it really boils down to the fact that it's from episode 4 and it's so iconic, and they just did a good job designing this. And the last 2019 set that, looking back, I would have liked to have is 75251, Darth Vader's Castle. And I'll be honest, I knew this set existed years ago when it was new and when it came out. And I believe it did have a really long run, as in it was on shelves in the LEGO store and it was in production for longer than most sets. But what really made me look back and say this would be a cool set to have is kind of the fact that I have the Disney castle, and I just got to thinking, well, what if I just started collecting LEGO castles? Maybe I'd do the 90th anniversary medieval castle, and I'd have Vader's castle and Cinderella's castle, and heck, I'd even throw Jabba's palace in there. I like that they included 2 Darth minifigures in this set. That way you can display them in different ways, or you could even take one minifigure and use it for something else. For example, maybe you have Vader in his Bacta tank, and then you can take the regular Darth Vader figure and display him in a totally different set, maybe even on the Blockade Runner. And similar to why I like the Battlefront battle packs and Anakin's custom starfighter, I like that this is an oddly specific set. This isn't something from what I would consider mainstream Star Wars, and it's one of those very niche, if you know, you know type of sets. Or even to someone else that doesn't know, they might see Darth Vader's castle and think, that's awesome. Having it in a LEGO set first might make them more interested in finding out where it came from. But for my case, I would have just wanted it because the build itself looks pretty unique. Even though it looks a lot like flat plates that you just build in a really long shape and then attach to the side, I still think the shape of it is something great, and it would help my skyline of LEGO castles grow. And even though I got the 501st Battle Pack, which came out in 2020, I didn't get that until 2021. So if I was paying a little bit more attention to sets back in 2020, I would have definitely gotten 75293, the Resistance ITS Transport. This set is not only a really cool color scheme, I like the gray and the dark gray and the blue. It really does give a 501st vibe after all, but it crosses two things I really like, Star Wars and Disney World. Now, how does this have anything to do with Disney World, you might ask? This is literally the ride vehicle that you board first when you go on the Rise of the Resistance attraction in Galaxy's Edge. In reality, you walk into what they're treating in this set as the cargo bay, and then your ship gets abducted by the First Order and you end up on a Star Destroyer. Just like Darth Vader's castle, the battle packs, and Anakin's custom starfighter, this continues the theme and also kind of tells you, I really like niche sets. I like sets that kind of break the mold and defy your expectations of what you think LEGO might make. These are the things you might dream of becoming a set, but think they're too oddly specific to become reality, which makes it even more rewarding when they actually do become reality. I know I would definitely be displaying this set without the crate and the cargo hold. I would actually take some LEGO City minifigures and display them so that it looks like tourists are boarding the ship before taking off. Building a rocky alcove with some foliage to make it look even more like the beginning of the ride is what would make this go from a great set to an amazing mock. And there you have it. I'm hoping at some point in the future I pick up at least one or two of these forgotten gems. I want to know, do you have any of these sets? Let me know how much or how little I'm actually missing out. Also, it would be cool to hear your stories about sets that maybe you didn't get for one reason or another, but now you wish you did. Hindsight is 2020, and there will always be something new to look forward to, but it's still fun to look back and make wish lists. Well, that's all I got. Until next time, thanks for watching.